Now, an unfortunate controversy has broken out over a film based on the life of a gay major who quit the Indian Army as it got challenging. The Defence Ministry has rejected this film script, and that is what sparked the controversy. The script was to be filmmaker Onir's next feature film and was inspired by the real-life struggle of the soldier who had to leave his position in the army as it became challenging for him to continue in it. The film would have been the sequel to the National Award-winning film I Am, Onir's film, which explored topics like single motherhood, homosexuality and other social issues. Well, to talk more about this, we're joined by the filmmaker. Onir, thank you so much for joining us on NDTV, and Major J. Suresh Kumar, who we've had on NDTV before as well. I remember that interview you did with my colleague Vishnu Shom. Onir, First and foremost, the Supreme Court has decriminalized homosexuality, but clearly there's a lot that remains to be done. If you could just tell us what happened.
For me, actually, while I was planning the scripts of We Are, one of the reasons for wanting to do a story that was inspired. The story is not Major Suresh's story. It's actually inspired by the interview he gave to NDTV, where I realized that despite the Supreme Court verdict, the Army did not recognize the Supreme Court verdict and would still treat anyone from the queer community as illegal. That was the word used. And I thought this was a discourse that needs to be had. This is a story that has to be told. And I created a fictitious story about a gay man in the army who is not being able to be himself, and how he has to, to be honest to himself. He has to quit the army. And for me, it is really, really sad that in 2022, 75 years of our independence, that being queer does not allow you to serve the nation that you love in the army. And that right cannot be denied, should not be denied to anybody.
Right, and it's time, we started talking more about these issues. I do remember at the time General Rawat did make a statement that, this whatever the Supreme Court has said does not affect the army. Army makes its own decision. Major Suresh, as I said, you've shared your story with NDTV in the past, and Onir saw that interview. And in fact, I found it interesting because I remember reading your blog where you spoke about how before coming out to your parents, you made him watch an NDTV show in which we had families, together and talking about the challenges and homosexuality in India, and so your reaction to this news of the script being rejected?
Yeah, hello Gargi. So thanks for having me on the show. I would say that the army still has to, rethink its, stand on this particular issue, because I view it as a human issue, and more importantly, the courage of conviction with which I came out was partly ingrained in me by my upbringing in a military environment. My father was in the Air Force, and I also served in the army. So, that desire to speak up for something that is right and something which is in the cause of justice or fairness was in a large part inspired by my exposure to the military, which has always stood for the right thing. So I would say it's actually time that the military revisited its policies, because they are out of sync with time. That is all I'll say, because the lot of scientific evidence has proved that the phenomena of homosexuality is absolutely natural. So it's time that they revisited the policy. Otherwise, it constitutes injustice on their part, which the army and the military is not known for. So that would be my stand.
All right, and we have to keep the focus on these conversations. Onir, what happens now? Is it necessary for you to get that go-ahead from the army? Tell us.
See, now, yeah, according to the new law, that if you have anything to do with the forces, any character, you need to first get a NOC from the Indian Army to be able to make that film. Otherwise, you won't be able to get it certified. And that's why in December, 16th of December, I formally applied with my script, which I think, treats everything with a lot of dignity and respect. There is nothing that is, I'm not someone out here to demean anybody. I have a lot of love and respect for the Indian Army. And then day before yesterday is when I got the email, and I was told that the content has been examined and analyzed and rejected, And I, of course, have asked for clarification that why exactly. I was told on the phone, which is not yet come on writing, that it is because there's no problem with the script, but the fact that I've shown a gay character as an army man is illegal.
Really?
You know, so it really, I mean, it's disheartening that today we have reached a stage where, you know, in 2005 and 2011, I could do a film on homosexuality, show police abuse of, you know, gay characters when it was still criminalized by law. And now, despite being decriminalized, as a filmmaker, my job is also to start dialogues, to use my medium to question institutions that I'm being denied the possibility of even having a dialogue. I'm being stopped at a script level to tell a story which is inspired by something that's there in public domain. So I feel, you know, of course it's just happened. I want to consult lawyers and figure out how, but at the end of it, I'm an independent filmmaker, you know, and the whole process of, you know, going to court, it's not really my job, you know, so I'm thinking what to do.
And so that was their objection, that how can you show a major being in the army, somebody in the army being
No,
gay?
I did show major, it's like I mentioned.
Or whoever, the soldier
only,
in the army.
Yeah, soldier, yes.
Right, and Major Suresh, one can imagine even now in the Indian Army, we must be having so many people who are closeted, who fear being judged or, you know, coming out and facing this sort of a thing right now.
Yes, it's true. So, you know, typically throughout the world, the right to serve openly in the military has, you know, typically been the most difficult and the last battle for LGBT rights.
That's true.
In India, we've just started with, you know, sort of equality, you know, trying to speak of equality. So, but what is, you know, heartening is that there have been many other countries in the West and in the Scandinavian part of Europe, as well as in Asia, closer home in Asia, in Southeast Asia, many countries have allowed, you know, their gay personnel to serve openly. So these are examples that have proved that, you know, letting gay personnel serve openly will not constitute as much as a problem as the military anticipates. Of course, it will involve change management. I'm absolutely certain it will involve sensitizing the personnel, the troops whose awareness on this may be low, a lot of education programs that have been run. But ultimately, if they do that and, you know, let people serve openly, if that serves the cause of justice, they will be seen as
right. And it's time we talked about this and started having those conversations. It's been a while since the Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality. Thank you so much for joining us, Major Suresh, and all the best to you, Onir, on your fight ahead. Let's see what happens next.